Hello and welcome. This is rooflemonger and my friends. In this video, we're going to be covering all sorts of topics for A.K.I, as this is the A.K.I starter guide. So I'm going to be giving you the lowdown on the character, what she's good at, what she's not so good at, some example bread and butter combos to help your game out, and some more advanced strategies. So there'll be timestamps, and we'll skip around to whatever makes sense for you. But for now, let's talk about A.K.I herself and just the various pros and cons of the character. So pros, out of the gate, she has a unique mechanic to herself. That is the poison mechanic. So if you hit an enemy with a poison move, well, simply enough, they will be poisoned. It doesn't do a lot of damage, nor is it by design meant to be, right? It's more of an annoyance to have it on you and anything, but one thing about the poison mechanic is when you have the poison application, there is also poison detonators. So once the poison is applied, the enemy is a lot more vulnerable than just simply taking a little bit of damage over time, as many moves are keyed once poison is applied to have an additional effect. And that additional effect is almost always extra detrimental to the enemy, be it crumple states, be it just full-on launchers, all sorts of things. Generally speaking, if you hit an enemy in a combo that has poison applied, your combo is going to be much more effective and much more damaging. So the effective name of the game is do what you can to hit the enemy and apply the poison state. And she's got a lot of good ways to do it. So she does have a traditional fireball, and it's pretty decent for what it is. Nice and slow as well, which means you can definitely follow up behind it with, say, a drive rush, which is handy. She has certain normals keyed to apply the poison effect. Many specials apply the poison effect. Even some of her super moves apply the poison effect. So applying poison is definitely something that's going to happen over the course of the match, and is on you once the poison is applied to make the most of it and then cash out and detonate the poison. The detonation is called the Toxic Blossom, by the way, officially, and then get the maximum damage you can. And besides that, the poison effect, which is very good, she has a very serviceable neutral game. So I'm talking like very sizable buttons, very appreciable buttons at very appreciable ranges, the ability to just control the screen. It is very difficult to jump at her as she has some exceptional anti-jumping attacks. So her just usual Street Fighter back and forth is pretty good as well. That's fantastic. So what's the weakness, if there is one? Well, her active defense is a little rough. So Street Fighter. Eventually you're going to get knocked down, right? That's half the game. And her options once she's knocked down are poorer than average. She does not have the Shoryuken style move, if you will. She does have invincibility in her level 1 super, as many characters do, but you have to spend super bar for that. When it comes to spending drive meter for defense, she doesn't have it. So she has a slide move, which is very useful in of itself, right? But the slide move is not full invincible. It is invincible to strikes. It is invincible to fireballs, and it's low profile in and of itself, but it can be thrown. So if your back is to the wall and you're in the corner, the throw is extra deadly in the corner, especially for the characters that have throw loops, and she effectively cannot defend herself against a throw outside of the usual means of just teching a throw. So no uppercut, none of those shenanigans, either spend meter or hope you guess right. So defensively, she does have it rougher than a lot of the rest of the cast, but that's by design. So you got to learn how to deal with that weakness, but otherwise, she has a lot of very fun and interesting strengths. So let's talk some of her more notable normals. So once again, as I mentioned, she's very good in the usual back and forth, just, kind of footsies war deal of Street Fighter, right? And that is thanks to a lot of her range of moves, like stand heavy punch here. As you can see, pretty exceptional range, all things told. 12 frame startup, so given the range, not bad. Also has a target combo follow-up of heavy punch, and that will apply poison, or if poison is already applied, it will detonate poison into a launcher. 2-note stand heavy punch. It is -5 on block, which at the ranges you're going to use it at, it's like not a big deal at all, really. If you did it point blank, I wouldn't suggest that. Also, the follow-up is pretty negative as well, so only go for it if you feel it's a sure deal. But just as a one-off poke, it's pretty alright. Also, stand medium kick. So stand medium kick is a little bit faster, although it has a little bit less range, right? But it is also good as a poke just when you're a little closer up. Nothing to it other than that, just a solid, fundamentally decent poke. So just keep it in mind for the offense. Now here's where the real range comes to play. This is forward heavy punch. So forward heavy punch has some titanic range. This is like almost as much as you can get just outside of Dalsum. And this is 16 frame startup, so given the very large range, very fast for what it is. And it's just a good poke. And also, on the note there, the frame data, it's only -3. So, like, even if you did it literally point blank, which you shouldn't because it's slower, but even if you did do it literally point blank, it's still safe on block. So if you're just looking for that extra long range poke, this is it. Also, since it has such long range, inevitably you can use it as, say, like a whiff punish or, you know, just general poke. If you're extra on the ball, one thing to note here. This move cannot be canceled into special moves. Other than her lights, the main way to cancel into specials is either stand heavy kick or crouching medium punch. But the one thing about it is it can go into super moves. So not specials, but it can go into supers and go into your level 1, 2, and 3 supers. So if you are poking, and you know in your heart of hearts, either by visual confirmation or just by guessing, that this bad boy is going to hit, then you can go directly into a super and get a lot of damage. Also to note, the first hit does not cause any advanced scaling or anything, so you get the full damage of the super after the fact. So for a poke, that's pretty alright damage. Also, forward heavy kick, amazing. So forward heavy kick is slower startup, 14 frames, and doesn't quite have the range, but what it is this, twofold. One, on regular hit, so you don't even have to worry about counter hit, regular hit, it is +4 on hit, means it goes into full combo on hit. Very handy. And on block, this bad boy is advantage on block. So A.K.I does not have much in the way of advantage frames. This is the big boy here. So if this move gets blocked, it is still your effective turn. You have to jab check them to keep them honest, right? So if they're going to hit a button here, make sure to do a jab or two to make sure, you know, they stay in place like they should. But once they do, then you can go for throws or any sort of other gimmicks you might envision, right? So advantage frames, very rare for A.K.I. This is +2 on block. Use it, love it. And just to note, for other normals, stand heavy kick is an absolutely phenomenal, just one button anti-air. Unless you're absolutely asleep at the wheel, it'll get people very well. And also much the same here, crouch heavy kick. Also very good. Since it lowers your profile, as you saw there, that was a punish counter. So depending on how much you delay, you can actually get potentially follow-ups from this. Just an example there. You are playing with fire a little bit. I won't recommend it. It's not as reliable if you're fishing for the big hit as stand heavy kick is, but it's still good. And just while we're here, not a normal, but with heavy punch, serpent lash, the ability to jump at A.K.I between all of her options and buttons here, it is just incredibly difficult. She's got a very fortuitous anti-air game. Now let's go over her special moves. As mentioned before, everything's all about the poison in the end, and many of the special moves apply the poison effect. So first here, let's talk just the general poison series of quarter circle back, light, medium, heavy. So these are all different moves. Quarter circle back light is the Nightshade Pulse, and this is a more traditional projectile. Is one of the lesser damaging projectiles in the game, but once again, it applies the poison effect. It is nice and slow, so you can kind of follow behind it, and if people want to jump from full screen, that's probably a bad idea, as it's pretty trivial for her just to snipe people out of the air. So don't do that. And now one of the other things here, it does have a canned follow-up. So you can do the base projectile, but if you also hit forward and punch after the fact, she will detonate it early. And it'll cause the poison effect naturally enough, right? It is also something you can combo into. And if you do the EX version, it'll also just apply the poison and detonate the poison right away. And to note, the EX version is just a much larger fireball, multi-hitting, destroys other fireballs as you would expect. Now, I did mention that this move is multiple buttons, so quarter circle back medium punch gives us a completely different effect here. This is Orchid Spring, and it applies a big old puddle on the ground. And it doesn't do anything other than if the opponent touches it, they're automatically poisoned. There's no defense against this, it's automatic. If you touch it, you're poisoned, end of story, you don't get a chance to block or anything like that. So this is a way to, say, set up on the opponent's wake up so they're automatically poisoned, or just a little bit, you know, the floor is lava kind of deal, where if you touch it, you get poisoned, end of story. Good and neutral if you don't know what else to do, and also very applicable on opponents' wake-ups as well. And Toxic Wreath, this is quarter circle back heavy punch. So it's almost like the detonator from earlier, except it's doing it all at once. So it's a big hitter, does launch the enemy up in the air a little bit, good for juggle combos as we'll explore later in the video, and is basically it's just a heavier hit. So if you're just looking to end a basic little like 2-hit string, this is a way to do it. It applies the poison effect. It's very safe on block as well with pushbacks. Only -4 on block with pushback, so that works out great. Now, there is the Serpent Lash series. So this is quarter circle forward, light, medium, heavy punch, and they all do different things as well. So quarter circle forward, light punch. This is your basic poke, and it's very good neutral, 14 frames, very fast startup. So we're doing the old back and forth on top of some of the other buttons we talked about earlier. This guy is also very applicable and very good to use. It applies poison and detonates poison. So its detonation is one of the most basic ones. It just simply does more damage and flings the opponent across the screen. But it's good for general poking, just good for general use. Some combos will be a combo ender. It is a workhorse of a move. The medium punch version is Serpent Lash at a more of like a 45-degree angle. And if it hits, it'll apply the poison. And if it hits and poison's already on, it becomes a crumple state. And from this crumple state, you absolutely can combo the enemy. Very useful in combos. Heavy punch version. This is the one that's straight vertical. Very good as an anti-air move, as she's very low to the ground, protecting herself. Not invincible against jumps, but just the way the move works, it's inherently very valuable against jump-ins. And this is going to be, if the poison's not already applied, probably your go-to combo ender 9 times out of 10. As it does a lot of damage in one strike. It does the most damage of all the basic light, medium, heavy buttons. Has a very good knockdown you can get a lot from, as we'll talk about later in the video. And if you already have the poison applied, then it becomes a proper launch, which becomes easy to juggle from. Next up, we have Cruel Fate. This is quarter circle back, light, medium, heavy kick. And this is effectively your neutral skip button, as she'll launch herself in the air and kind of stab downwards. So if the old back and forth, hitting buttons, all that kind of stuff too hard, you're going to say, nah, and just fling your way in. So the lighter the button, the more shallow the dive, and the heavier the button, the longer the dive, but the longer the startup. Specifically, the heavy version, you actually are advantaged 4 frames. So that means you can actually combo into lights after the fact. So it's the most valuable for combos for sure, but keep in mind you're in the air the longest, which means it's definitely a drive impact bait if the opponent is ready for it. So don't get too predictable on that. The enhanced version is a hit grab. So do a good amount of damage and give an appreciable knockdown after the fact. And apply poison as well, as you can see. Now, all these moves are safe on block. However, the enhanced version is also advantage on block. So if this gets blocked, it is still your turn and you will win if you both mash out after the fact. So like any move of this type, it's basically if you hard call out the fireball, you can just get past it. Also on punish counter, it's exceptionally advantage, which means you can get better combos going on. Next up is the snake step. So this is one of her mobility options. Quarter circle forward, light kick, medium kick, heavy kick. So basically you just slide across the ground and that's about it. You're very low profile. Certain things will absolutely go over your head. The light kick version is basically a fake out. It has the same startup as the other ones, but you stay in place. The medium one, you travel a little bit, and the heavy kick version, well, you travel a lot a bit. And the enhanced version is invulnerable against a lot, basically invulnerable to all strikes and projectiles, but it is still vulnerable to throws, which is unfortunately one of her key weaknesses. But still, you gotta take what you can get. So if you're looking to just peace out or work your way in with very little difficulty, this is the way to do it. Also, if you want to do the projectile, quarter circle back light punch, you can cancel the recovery of that into the EX slide as well. So you can have the fireball on screen while just kind of charging behind it and actually being in front of it, which is very tricky. Now, another unique mechanic to her is the Sinister Slide. So this is somewhat similar to the Snake Step here, and she's very low to the ground, as you can see, but this is a bit of a stance and she has multiple options from it. So one, if you hit punch while in stance, she'll leap forward and attack. So this is a lot of damage in a single hit, does apply the poison effect, and will also detonate the poison effect for a crumple if they're already poisoned. Now, if you hit kick, this is sort of the workhorse of the move here. So kick is advantage enough on hit to link directly into combos. So if you get this bad boy, it's guaranteed combo every single time. On block, this is -3, so it is safe on block. So you do get a full combo reward on hit, maybe not the biggest combo in the world, but still a combo reward on hit, and on block you are safe, so very handy. And since this is so, spammable, well, I believe I'll just block all that nonsense, right? But you know what you can't block? Can't block command grabs now, can you? So yes, this stance also has a true command grab from it, so it cannot be blocked or defended against any way other than jumping. So the startup's a little slow, and you obviously have to do it out of the stance. But basically, if you hit throw, you will command grab the enemy. So while they're worried about any of the other options you have from it, you can do this as a mostly guaranteed setup. Like, it's really strong to have this option on the table while they're worried about other stuff. Having a command grab of any kind at all is always very valuable to have to bypass an opponent's defense and not give them the chance to tech, like say with a regular throw. And her super move's really quick. So double cortical forward kick is her level 1. Always applies poison on hit, very handy. And it is her only proper invincible reversal. So if your back's against the wall and you're worried about getting like stuck in a throw loop, this is your only way out. So it's good to end combos, good to apply poison, sure, but it is also your key defensive move. Double quarter-circle back punch is your level 2. So it's a very long-range move, applies poison, also applies the poison puddle, which is here as you can see. So which button you press will determine the distance. So light goes closer, medium goes medium, heavy goes far. If you see the enemy throw fireballs, this is very much a dedicated anti-fireball move. It will destroy all other projectiles. So it's a very good gotcha move from just anywhere on the screen if you see it. And once again, that poison puddle, very much like the regular puddle. So at any point, you can do whatever combos. Like you can detonate, but they'll wake up in the puddle. And you can detonate and they'll wake up in the puddle. And you can detonate and they'll wake up in the puddle. So you're always going to be rest assured every time you do whatever you're going to do, they're going to wake up and be poisoned immediately. So you can always go for detonation combos no matter what. You can always have that. It's in the back of your mind, no matter what, they're definitely always going to be poisoned. And the level 3 double cortical forward punch. Fast enough startup for what it is. It's about, you know, your usual level 3, right? This is your big damage dump. And obviously if you're at critical health, it'll do even more damage. And if you can end a combo with it, probably odds are it's a good idea to do so. Now, let's go through a lot of her basic combo structure. So, a lot of these combos, cortical forward heavy punch is going to be a very big deal. As just to get out of the way here, when you do it in combos, technically it does not do as much damage as cortical back heavy punch. But the problem is, as we'll see here in a moment, it scales more. So let me give you an example basic B&B combo. So, you know, this light hit confirm, that's all it needs to be. Gets a good knockdown, very good knockdown. We'll talk about that later in the video. Applies the poison, sure. Now, why don't we do something like this instead? So the reason why you don't use that ender instead is twofold. One, the knockdown is not as good, unfortunately. And two, it actually has more advanced scaling. So say here, light, and then heavy punch lash. The heavy punch lash scales at 80%. But if we go light, first go back heavy punch, it's scaling now at 65%. It actually has advanced scaling. So even in a basic hit confirm combo, it'll do less damage overall. And obviously in the course of a longer combo, do even less. It's not to say it doesn't have its uses, because it absolutely does, as we'll talk about later in the video, but just keep that in mind. So now say we have the poison already applied, right? If we're going for a basic hit confirm combo, what should we go for? So basically, after any basic detonation, after heavy lash, you can always just go for light punch lash for the most part. It's just very quick and easy, quick detonator, you can go. Also, if you're so inclined, you can also leave a puddle behind, forego the damage, but make sure they land in the puddle, and get a little bit more pressure as you'll be directly on top of them. Also to note, if you want to eke out a little bit extra damage, you can add a drive rush on top of that. A smidge more and you'll reapply the poison effect. Now the corner, obviously, like many things in Street Fighter, is where we can start getting much more advanced damage off the basic hit confirm and going into a toxic bloom explosion. So now you can see decent chunk of change of damage, right? Ending with level 1 super, poison is always reapplied. That's how that works. So we have to burn a couple bars on drive rushes, but we can juggle them and then juggle them again with the cortical back heavy punch, and then drive rush, and we have just enough time to go into another heavy kick into our stance punch, and the stance punch slide out always gives you time to super. So you don't have to super, you can apply a puddle instead if you don't want to burn the bar, but still the options are there and available to you. Forward heavy kick, as we went over earlier in the video, great move, as it's comboable on hit and advantage on block. So what's not to love? So on hit, it's a pretty basic combo. Very similar to, say, what you would see from the regular bread and butter combo. And since we end with the quarter circle forward heavy punch, you basically get all these same and their follow-ups that are applicable across the board. Stand medium kick, great poke. Also, it is indeed actually +6 on hit. And stand medium punch is 6 frame startup. So that means all the usual stuff is applicable. Also, since stand medium punch goes into medium serpent lash, this means you can go for some more advanced poison combos. So quick and dirty, damage is respectable for what it is, especially because we didn't burn any meter, and get to reapply poison. Now, stand heavy kick in a lot of ways is your big party starter. This is what you want to go for off a lot of jump-ins, especially punish counter combos, as it naturally combos into stance and the kick strikes from stance. So once again, as you can see, kind of all roads tend to lead to a couple jabs into heavy serpent lash, but still it gets you more damage than you normally would otherwise get. And also, it's your go-to punish counter move, as you get the big boy knockback effect when you use it as a punish counter. So let's give you an example meterless punish counter with stand heavy kick. So as you can see there, that time it actually naturally combos in the quarter circle back heavy kick, which does more damage than, say, like the stance kicks would, right? So it's just more damage overall. That's great. Now, say we already have the poison applied, right? And we get that same scenario. Let's cash out on the big damage. EX Slash brings us in, and on an already poisoned enemy, it detonates the poison into a crumple. And we can get some pretty big damage from that. So we end up a little north of 3,500 damage. Poison reapplied, not too bad. Also, that final hit you can end with super and also go over 4,000 damage, which is extra good. But say we got the poison applied, we get the big punish, right? We're just looking to cash out, right? So here's an example of that. And now, hey, we're getting a lot of damage on a basic punish, right? And that's thanks to the poison detonations and us burning some meter. About 6,000 damage, not bad at all. So that's some of the basic idea that you should be going for when you're just going for basic combos. Generally speaking, the early stuff is just about applying the poison and, you know, taking the knockdown, and we'll talk about knockdowns in a little bit. And once the poison's applied, that's when you get your bigger damage. And obviously, just stuff like, you know, your pokes, your neutral, all that kind of stuff adds up over time. Even though poison's not a lot of damage, over the course of the match, if you can apply it a few times, it'll be appreciable enough as well. So watch out, apply poison, and aim for the big hits. Now let's talk some knockdown fun and gimmicks. So much of what you've seen, a lot of the combos are just going to end with heavy serpent lash, right? That's just how it is. But don't worry, we get a lot of options after we get that knockdown. So to note here, old boy Ken, he's going to try to wake up with a 4-frame crouching jab that's as fast as you can do. And you're going to see through a lot of these setups here how we're going to easily crush it, and the enemy has to submit to our will. So out of the gate here, let's go for our basic hit confirm combo, right? And whoa, I threw him and it said counter hit. What's that all about? So our serpent slide. So we're going to do the quarter circle forward medium kick version specifically. And if we do that directly after heavy lash, we will be exactly 5 frames of advantage in the enemy's face. And yes, just in case you're wondering, this is the case on back roll as well. We will always be +5 and in throw range. So after every time you end any combo in this bad boy, rest assured, medium serpent dash, and you'll always be 5 frames of advantage in their face. So you can do it. Okay, maybe you didn't get the most damage, but hey, now I have a guaranteed throw. Obviously, if I'm +5, that means you're certainly not beating me on any button, so I can go into any button here, like say stand medium punch, 6 frame startup. well covered in that 5-frame gap. I can hit the button, beat you out every time. It is just free and guaranteed pressure, effectively, because whatever they press short of something invincible, you will easily be able to beat it. And to note on this setup here, if they try to throw back, well, you're still frame advantage, you're going to win, right? So if they try to throw tech immediately, you'll beat it out. And say they try to delay throw tech, right? So they can still block in time, whatever buttons you're going to press, and do the delay throw tech, so if they get thrown, then you'll still beat it. Well, delay throw tech gets blown up by just neutral jump land on their head, right? So you decidedly have the advantage here on multiple ways. If you just want to hit buttons right away, you'll always win. If you want to throw right away, you'll always win, no matter what buttons they press. If they throw tech right away, your buttons beat their throw tech. If they delay throw tech, you can just neutral jump land on their head and get a very big combo. So basic knockdown offense, but considering you're going to be ending so many combos in this move anyways, very powerful, especially because it covers both wake-ups. Now, let's take the same idea, but a different approach. So we're still going to end whatever combo we got in the heavy lash, right? And what we're going to do now, instead of the kind of straightforward pressure, we're going to try to frame kill into her command grab. So the command grab, obviously more damaging than, say, a regular throw. So let's try that out. So this first one covers both techs. Tech in place, roll backwards, doesn't matter, catches both. And once again here, our pal Ken, he's going to wake up with a 4-frame button, try to beat us. As you can see, we went out. So what do we do there? All we did is just start a drive rush, and then immediately cancel the beginning of the drive rush into our stance and cancel into the throw. So anytime we end with our basic combo here, as you can see, it just works. So you do a 4-framer, you do anything, you be passive at all, this will get you. And once again, this covers regular tech, back tech as well. So unlike the other thing where we had like some protection in like delay tech and then we had to do a different route to beat it, if you're any kind of passive other than jump, this will catch you and this will beat you. And just in case you're wondering, yes, if they're going to just like wake up DP, you have plenty of time to just cancel the drive rush in the down back and block. So that defensive option is there for you. Now, what if we don't want to burn meter though? We do have another option. So once again, crouch light punch is what the enemy will be going for here. As you can see, we beat it clear as day. So what happened there? We went for what we call a frame kill. So if we just whiff stand light punch, it basically eats the dead air, if you will, and gives us the time to frame perfectly, go into stance, and go into throw and beat the crouch light punch. Now, there is a weakness to this one. So you don't got to spend any meter like the drive rush, so it is much stronger in that regard. However, this one will lose to back roll. So mid-screen, if they recover in place, it'll get them, but if the back roll, they can get out for free. Now, thankfully, in the corner, back roll, get up and play, it doesn't matter. It's the same frame data no matter what. So in the corner, this becomes the go-to. It don't matter, right? So after every heavy lash knockdown in the corner, this becomes a very powerful tool where basically, once again, their only way out is backdash or jump or do something invincible. My friends, the setups off heavy lash, they don't end. They don't end. So let me give you another one. So this time, we're going to be using our overhead. So normally overhead, you know, okay, 3 frames of advantage. It's all right, I guess. But we can have it hit not on the first frame and then get even more advantage. So once again here, normally hits 3 frames of advantage. But what we want to do here, we're going to do heavy lash, immediately dash, and then go for the overhead. And notice here on the frame counter, right? It didn't hit on the first active frame. It hit later and also hit very deep into the move. So it's giving us more frame advantage than it normally would. We have 5 frames of advantage. And 5 frames of advantage, hey, that's exactly stand light punch. That's exactly that target combo. And there we go. So off a simple dash forward, go for the overhead. It changes the normal frame data because it hits partway into the move, and we get a whole sequence from it. To note, just like the last one, it's a little susceptible to back roll, but in the corner, they can't do anything about it. True frame kill, it's great stuff. And of course, naturally, just in case I did not mention it, it beats all mashing on wake up as well, as our friend Ken set the mash, right? So it's all airtight except for, against naturally, invincible reversals. Now, we talk so much about HP Lash, right? Let's talk about, of course, go back heavy punch, this guy here. So we talked about earlier in the video, it doesn't do as much damage combos, whatever. But here's a scenario in the corner where it's actually more valuable. So if we get like our basic knockdown, right? The frame rate is a little different and to our advantage here. Say we went for the usual, right? And then we went for our fireball. It would just leave off the screen. We have too much advantage. We actually want less. And that's what this gives us. Now, it pushes us back a little bit here. Less advantage, which means they get up quicker, which means they wake up into the fireball. And notice Ken blocks, right? At fastest timing, they have to wake up into it, and on block, we are 12 frames of advantage. So we are going to win no matter what they do. And naturally enough on hit, even more advantage, right? So 19 frames of advantage, that's pretty wild. It's so much advantage on hit, we can actually go into our heavy punch target combo. It'll be a natural combo, and it'll be a natural detonator as well, because they're already poisoned. So, some pretty titanic damage off a basic setup if the opponent just doesn't want to sit and block. Once again, due to the nature of the fireball, they have to wake up into it. Yes, you can do something invincible through it, but that's not always going to be an option depending on the character. And it's really as simple as just anything in the corner. Basically, every time you normally end with HP Lash, you just end it with Cortical Back Heavy Punch instead in the corner. And then immediately, just go into your fireball. And super plus on hit, super plus on block, the world's your oyster. Very simple and very effective pressure. And that's basically the guy. Just a couple other quick notes. HP Lash, because we spent so much of the video talking about it. In the corner, very easy safe jump setup because it's plus 44. So if the opponent wakes up with a fast reversal, just go for jump heavy punch and you can block in time. And of course, naturally as a safe jump, it'll hit super deep if they just sit there and block, right? So avoid reversals. Works if they don't reverse. That's great. Also to note, if the enemy's in burnout, stance kick becomes extra amazing because it's -3, right? So on burnout, that makes it +1 on block. So that means they have to deal with like nonsense like this. Because what else are they going to do? You're always plus, right? So it's a fun way to pressure people and get some quick and dirty chip in, because this does count as a special move, so it will deal chip damage. So on burnout especially, she can really bully people like E Honda style. And closing out the video, I just think she's really neat and really fun. I think she's a really good addition to the cast. I like the fact that she's more of a less, you know, just rush down, pressure, all that kind of stuff. She's much more about controlling the neutral, controlling the screen. I dig that about a character, especially because like next DLC character is going to be like Ed and Akuma, and they're definitely going to be all about rush down, right? So it's interesting just to see how the character is. The aesthetic of the character is great. Their personality is great. She's just plain fun. So that said, I hope this video has helped you out with the character, helped you understand her, and hopefully it will help you out with her game plan and just help you enjoy the character more. And that said, well, I guess we're at the end of the video. So thank you very much for watching. Hope this video has found you well, and go out and play some Street Fighter.